And how you doing? How you living? How you feeling, folks? Back for another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast. Now, of course, we're brought to you by the Idiots Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Idiot Number Zero. My name is Zach. Glad to be back as always. Now, we're gonna get right into this episode. This is gonna be all about kind of the Shohei Ohtani situation right now with him and his interpreter. It's definitely a little interesting. Now, just to kind of describe what's going on, prior to this Soul series, there had been some allegations pointed out that some interesting wire transfers had occurred, and an illegal bookmaker, I don't remember his exact name. I do have a couple articles up, but I'm not going to surf through them to find it. It seems that, the interpreter had made a couple bad bets, and Shohei was paying off the bad bets for his interpreter. And it was weird. It was discovered because these people were asking questions about the wire transfers. This illegal bookie had claimed he had some type of association with Shohei Ohtani. So these kind of things started coming out of the woodwork, and one thing led to another, and people started asking questions, and rightfully so. I mean, it's definitely gonna be a huge allegation. Gambling on your own sport. That's crazy. A guy who just got paid the most money in, really, I think, sports history with that contract, that 10-year, $700 million contract. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this kind of breaks down. Now, from my understanding, it seems that these bets ranged anywhere in the neighborhood of like 4 point something to like 4.5 to like $5.2 million or $5.4 million, what we'll put it at. We've seen kind of that slight variation, so that's definitely been interesting. Now, the one thing I'll definitely argue is weird is that his interpreter, I'm going to totally botch this name, Ippei Mizuhara, seemingly, longtime interpreter of Shohei and good friend of Shohei. It seems like he had given a very weird, very weird interview, because he had talked to NPR and kind of seemingly tried to set the story straight, saying that he had made some bad bets and that, Shohei, being his friend, was going to do the wire transfers to the associate of Boyers. But then only about, an hour, 2 hours later, the interpreter claimed that he had lied, and that the story necessarily wasn't true, and that Shohei knew nothing of the gambling debt or about paying off the gambling debt. So I think that's very interesting. We've seen attorneys get involved, law firms get involved. Shohei's law firm dramatically changed its stance after one day. They went from kind of trying to feel out what the hell was going on to just putting all of the blame immediately on Mizuhara, the interpreter. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see how that's unfolding. It looks like they're really taking a defensive stance. But I think a good question to be raised here is, how does Shohei not know? It feels like that first story was very authentic, and now we're only kind of flipping the idea because, just because of some legal trouble he doesn't want Shohei to get into. I think that might be the cause of this. I honestly think that, Shohei might be more involved than we're led to believe. So I have a hard time believing that someone can just willy-nilly take $5.4 million out of your bank account and you won't notice, especially when, out of that $700 million contract, $680 million are deferred. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not like he has such a large amount of money all at one time that this $5.4 million right now isn't a large sum. I mean, obviously it is, and it is for anybody, but in terms of a player like Shohei, he's not made enough money in the league to be able to kind of to be able to, I guess, transact that money. I mean, maybe he's made a lot from sponsorship deals, but still, $5.4 million from a guy like Shohei Ohtani, who, let's see if we can get his career earnings up here. Ohtani career earnings. I mean, I know for a fact he hasn't made a lot of money from the league. He's been, let's see. All right, so estimated pre-tax, with all the awards and everything he's won, looks like he's made about $40 million from 2017 to 2023. That being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total years in the league. So I would argue that's close, if not. Hold on, let's do this real quick. 42. Yeah. So he's getting paid $6 million a year, give or take. And I would argue that, up until last year where he made $30 million due to arbitration, he really wasn't making nearly that much money. I mean, that $5.4 million is more than he's ever made in 1 year of his career outside of last year. So I have a hard time believing that, $5.4 million could just go missing and it kind of be okay. So that's going to be interesting. Now, I see that some people are telling me that it was some type of poker game, not sports betting. Um, I just have some weird not none of the numbers are necessarily like solid. So everything's kind of all over the place except for Shohei Ohtani's contract and the 90-minute interview. So that's weird. But yeah, it says that apparently Mizuhara lost all his money in a San Diego poker game in 2021 and then reached over $1 million by the end of 2022, exploding from there. Yeah, this guy's saying he's terrible at gambling. That's kind of funny, but it's just weird with how close he is to Shohei and how his words have changed so rapidly. I'm not all too sure exactly what's going on in the situation. I'm excited to see what comes out of it because I really don't want to see Shohei Ohtani get Rule 21s and we get a similar situation to that of Pete Rose, where we saw an unbelievable baseball player's career get slandered for, gambling. That's not something I want to see out of Shohei Ohtani, someone who's supposed to be the face of the league for the next, at least 5 to 7 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how this story kind of files out. Now, there's going to be obviously more information that comes out with time, and we'll keep kind of glossing over it when we can. Now, with that being said, I really do appreciate you guys coming out, listening, spending time with me, and enjoying it. I got a lot of questions about Shohei Ohtani, and I'm sure you guys do, so don't be afraid to drop those comments down below. I do try to respond to all comments. I appreciate them. Don't be afraid to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Hell, if you want to hit that reminder button, you'll get notifications of when things are coming out, I guess. But I don't know if I have one of those on the notification button. So, keep it fun. With that being said, guys, I do really appreciate you coming out, listening, spending time with me. With that being said, stay idiotic.